Good morning, and thank you so much for being on. This topic is one of my favorite things to cover because first and foremost, I want everybody to know that as I build this business, I'm not giving up everything in my life just to be successful with doTERRA. And I think sometimes there is that misnomer, especially as I gain more and more traction and I'm more successful. I have people make comments like, oh, I would never do that, or I could never leave my kids, or I could never, and I get it quite often. And I get so excited to show people, no, actually, this is creating freedom for your family and your kids. And it's amazing. And it's an amazing example to show your kids you achieving your dreams. And on top of that, I don't do this full time. Like, I'm not doing this 40 hours a week. So very passionate about this topic, but I wanted to stop and take the time to show you exactly what it is that I do and how I manage my business working. Some weeks it's 10 hours. And some hours it's 20 hours a week, but I put a lot of time and effort. I would say I do a consistent 15 to 20 hours a week. In the beginning, I did put a little bit more time in, but I also, for me, I know exactly where I'm going, and so I know exactly what kind of time I need to do to put it to get there. If you have joined in by phone and you'd be willing to mute yourself, that would be great, because otherwise it's very noisy for other people and they can't hear. So there's somebody who's not muted. So if you can, please mute yourself. Maybe this will help. Okay. Okay. Anyway, yeah. If everyone can mute themselves, it makes it a lot easier on all of us, so we can hear. Okay, perfect. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you. And I'm just going to talk about what I've done to become successful with doTERRA and the time frame in which I do it. My story, for those of you that don't know, is that I was introduced to doTERRA 7 years ago. I signed up 7 years ago this month doing the New Year, New You promotion. I was so excited to get a free bottle of clove. That's what I decided part of what I was going to get with my 100 PB that I got for free. So I was super excited to get started, get going. I had zero belief in myself. I had the time to do the business. I only had one child at the time and I wasn't working, and I had lots of time on my hands, but I didn't have any belief in myself to be successful. And so I decided that I was just going to use the products and casually share. Didn't really have a goal. So of course I wasn't overly successful that first year because I didn't have an action plan. I didn't know what I was doing. Play from start. So as always, if there's any problems hearing me, and you know me, and if you have my number, just text me, because I am, anyway, so, okay, so I am going to just walk you through exactly what I have done to create success. And I was just telling you exactly, how I started. I didn't really know what I was doing that first year. I didn't do very much. And then, I got serious about the business when I was 25 weeks pregnant with my twins. I was like, I'm going to be serious about this. And, one might think, oh my gosh, I can't do it right now. I'm pregnant, or I'm pregnant with twins, or I'm doing this, that, or the other. And I was pregnant with twins, but something that people don't know, I was working 20 hours a week doing something else. I was transcribing from home because I wanted to, I wanted to bridge the gap financially a little bit. I didn't have the vision of doTERRA just yet. And my husband's business was just getting launched, and I was tired of being so poor. So tired of it that I was like, you know what, I'm going to work. I was able to make $40 an hour doing this other side business. And I did that as I was doing doTERRA. And that other business was a perfect example of hauling buckets. If I wanted to get paid, I had to transcribe. It's a great income opportunity. There's a lot of great things about it. But if I didn't show up to work, I didn't get paid. So if I was sick and couldn't work, I didn't get paid. If it was Christmas break, I didn't get paid. If it was summer break, I didn't get paid. So yes, it was a great little income opportunity for me, but I was looking for something that I could full-time make a really great income, maybe not working full-time. So that's what I loved about doTERRA. So here I was pregnant with twins. I had a 2-year-old. I was working 20 hours doing another business, and my husband worked full-time. A lot of people, I don't know if it's that I don't share it or they're not aware, but this was quite a battle in the beginning for me as well. And I didn't have the money to hire a nanny or a house cleaner, or, I remember hiring a house cleaner to come like once or twice a month and being like, oh, this is so much money. I don't know if we can afford this, so, times have changed, but a lot of times, people will make comments that, well, it's easy for you because you have all this support. And it's like, yes, it is a lot easier to build now. But I didn't start that way. I started driving my daughter to classes with me. I started, I've taught classes holding her before, which I don't recommend, but it was either that or I didn't teach a class. I taught classes, with her screaming in the background with babysitters. So, been there, done that. And I'm going to just teach you my tips and my tricks. So the first thing is, and we talked about this last week, is making sure that you have a goal set. A goal is super important. If you don't know where you're going with this, you're not going to get very far, because it's going to be difficult to get to a destination that's not even mapped out for you. So make sure that you have a goal set, whether it is an income that you want to make, a rank, whatever it is. Make sure that you have an overall goal of where you're going. I want to hit silver this year, or I want to make $1,000 a month this year, or I want to make $500 a month this year. That would really free up our budget. So set your goals and figure out where you're headed. The next thing you really need to do is decide, is this a hobby or is this a business? In my mentoring, I have had so many people come to me disappointed in their lack of achievement, and I find out that that this is a hobby for them, and they're wanting these big results on hobby hours. So make sure, please be aware, I don't do this 40 hours a week, but I also take it very seriously and give it my all and work very effective hours when I am working. So hobby versus a business. If you want it to be a hobby, that's great, but just expect that you're going to get a check here or there. You're not going to get a consistent check, or it's not going to be a very big check. So hobby versus business, make your decision. If you want this to be a business and you're wanting to replace your income and bring your husband home, you got to treat it like a business. That is definitely my biggest piece of advice for you. Now, the first thing that's so important is setting your office hours. I love Christmas time. It's my favorite time of the year. I love the music. I love the Christmassy smells I diffuse in my diffuser. I love the Christmas giving, the cookies, the baking. I love all of it. And I always think, oh man, it's going to be over. It's so sad it's not Christmas time all year. But interestingly enough, as soon as I hit January 1st, New Year's happens, I have that mourning period between Christmas and New Year's where I'm like, it's not Christmas. We have to take our tree down. This is so sad. And then I hit January 1st and I find myself relieved almost that I get to go back to normalcy with office hours instead of juggling I don't know if I'm going to call them today because they may, I love getting back to that new and fresh schedule. And yes, you will hear my baby today in the background. He's helping me. So make sure that you have your office hours set. This is when you need to, and decide to set your office hours when it's going to be the least distracting time for you. So if you're a mom and you have small kids and a babysitter isn't affordable for you yet, I'm going to give you an idea in just a minute. But work your hours in the evening when they go to bed, or work your hours in the afternoon when they're sleeping. My assistant, Bree, she doesn't build a business, but she does. She's an awesome assistant for me. And she's very consistent. I can tell when she's working because she reaches out and asks a lot of questions. But she has to be working consistently because of the nature of her job. She has to treat this like a business because she's paid a salary. So she has to work certain hours. So I've seen her pick, her set hours out. I'll either hear from her early in the morning when her kids are still asleep or her husband's there, or in the afternoon when her children are napping, or at night when they're asleep. So she has picked office hours for herself when it's distraction free, so that she can do a better job and so that she can also be able to really focus. And my social media gal is the same way. She works when she's got kids in bed, and she has 5 little kids. So it really is, pick a time when you're not going to have a lot of distractions. So maybe when they're at preschool and they're at school. And that's what I do. I like to do a lot of my work on Tuesdays and Thursdays because the only child I have home is my baby. And so I don't feel like I'm ignoring my other kids as much. So set your office hours when it makes sense for you. You also want to set some office hours when it is going to help you be able to grow your business. Part of this business is meeting new people. And if you're only working at night, so like when your kids are in bed, that may be tricky. So those might be great times for following up or sending out an email or whatever it is. But you also want to set hours where you're going to be able to achieve the success that you need to with a doTERRA business, keeping in mind that you need to be, finding new people and doing wellness consults and, nurturing your team. So set your office hours at a time that makes sense. Now, one thing that I do is I have my hours set, but I also go in on Sunday night and plan out my week. So every Sunday night, Bree, my assistant, gets texts from me. Will you do this? Will you do that? Because that's when I'm planning my week out. I put in, like, if I had a doctor's appointment that week, I would put it in. If I'm meeting with, you know, if I'm going on a play date, I put that in there, or, you know, whatever it is that I've got in my, you know, I'm adding my things into my schedule, and I'm reevaluating that week to see what is going to work for me. And that is, it's important that when I'm scheduling my success, that I'm honoring those office hours that I have set. So I'm not necessarily adjusting my office hours unless I need to. It's like, oh man, I've got a play date on Wednesday. I can't work Wednesday mornings. When else could I work this week? I could do Tuesday morning because the kids are at school. You know, that's what my Sunday night planning consists of. So that way I know exactly what my week is going to look like, so that there's not unknowns that all of a sudden pop up. Time blocking is a huge thing. And I always like to liken this to folding laundry. I think I hate folding laundry until I start folding it. And then I start folding it and I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad. Now, I truly hate putting the clothes away, and that's not ever going to change, but I don't mind folding laundry. But if I try to fold in bits and pieces throughout the day, it doesn't really get done. My baby unfolds it. It just doesn't work. So if I can sit down and say, you know what, I'm giving myself 1 to 3 hours to get all of my laundry folded. It's going to get done. I'm done with it. This is going to be good. I'm going to focus just on this. It's going to get done quicker, more efficiently. I'm not going to have to redo anything. So I pick a 1 to 3 hour block when in my schedule that I'm going to be working, and I do like activities together. So for you, it might be follow-ups. Like if you're going to do a booth, block in an hour of time that next week to do your follow-ups. Or maybe you are going to be, maybe you just did a class and you need to do wellness consults. Block in, you know, I like to do them back to back if I can, because it's like I have a babysitter on Thursday morning. I'm going to do, if I can do all my wellness consults Thursday morning, that's going to be perfect for me. So I block in 3 hours. If I can do them all back to back, I do. And I realize that sometimes when you're working with other people's schedules, it's tricky, but I like to do like activities together. Another great time blocking activity is getting all of your samples ready. You could turn on a movie and get all of your samples ready for the month. I don't encourage you to do your samples much ahead of that, because especially citrus oils can start evaporating out of your sample bottle. But sit down and do all of your samples so that you have them ready to go. Be really efficient with your time. I do all of my mentoring calls with my frontline leaders Monday morning. I leave refreshed, excited, you know, like I have an action plan with my business partners. It's just a great feeling. So put your like activities together in your schedule in 1 to 3 hour blocks. Now, hiring support has been key for me. Now, I just said you don't necessarily have to hire a babysitter or have lots of money to do this, and that is true. My support has evolved through the 7 years that I've been doing this. You know, when I first did this, Cheyenne Hathaway and I, we would watch each other's kids. She had a baby, I had a baby. We'd watch each other's kids, because heaven knows we did not have the money to hire babysitters. So I found someone to swap with. So Cheyenne and I would swap watching babies. She would go do a class. I would watch Texan. I'd do a class. She would watch Sadie. We swapped time. I also found a neighbor lady who was looking to make some extra money. I paid her $3 an hour to watch my kids, or my kid. I only had one at the time. So even if I was working 10 hours a week doing doTERRA, that's $30 a week. Really not that much money. If you look at your budget, you could cut out eating out, soda drinks that you're buying, or whatever it is. You could come up with that $30 a week. Here's why I like hiring support. I can work so much more focused hours when I have support hired, because I'm not getting distracted by my kids. If I try to work when my kids are around, I get really frustrated. Like right now, I'm in Utah and my family is back in Kansas City, minus the baby and I. We're headed to California today. And I've put him in his high chair and he's throwing Cheerios all over the floor. But it would be easier to do this without him. However, I love this business because I can be flexible. But I can get, you know, I would be a little more efficient in getting everything done if I wasn't working with him, you know, in tow. So that's why I like to do this when I've got a babysitter present. But I don't let that stop me. If my babysitter is sick or out of town or something happens, I will put a movie on for my kids. I still do this. So Hiring support's great, and that can even be doing a swap. And a lot of times moms like having play dates anyway, so you can do, hey, I'd love to watch your kids for these 3 hours if you can watch my kids for these 3 hours, and then work your business. And hiring support can be things that are non-related to your business. Hiring somebody to mow your lawn can be huge. You can probably do it. Your neighbor kid will probably do it for $10 a week. But hiring support so that it reduces your responsibility load that you have for the week is key, because that frees up time for you to work. And that way you're not working all of the time, and you still feel like you can work you still be with your family, which is so huge. So that's one thing that I have done. And when I time block hours, I think one of the most important things is to honor your hours so that you're not working all the time when you're supposed to be with your kids. And then when you are working, you tell your kids, you know what, I'm working right now, but we will play later. And they know that when you play later, that you're not going to be distracted by work. So really honoring what you have blocked in is going to be key. Giving my baby more food. Sorry, it'll get quiet here. So hiring support is key. And it also, for me, it allows me, it frees up time. I have tremendous guilt over hiring a house cleaner. I'm in Utah, and funny enough, I have a house cleaner here in Utah, but I don't have one in Missouri, where I live 90% of the time, and where my kids destroy the house all the time, not really here in Utah. But even as she was here yesterday cleaning up and folding our laundry, I was like, this is so nice. It frees up time for me to be with my kids. I love this. Like I can enjoy my Saturdays more. Because I do work and I have created a great income for myself, I have started to hire support so that I can really focus on what I'm good at and still have a lot of free time with my kids. Now that comes in stride, so maybe that's a goal for you, that you can, hey, you know what, that'd be so great to hire a house cleaner. Let that drive you in your doTERRA business. Self-care is also huge. You have to take care of yourself. I really love when you're on an airplane and they tell you that you need to put your oxygen mask on first before assisting other people. This is a wellness company, and if you are not the face of wellness, it's going to be harder for you to build your business. If you're feeling tired, worn out, it's going to be difficult for you to build. Now, that doesn't mean you have to look a certain way or anything like that, but if you're constantly exhausted and no energy because you're not taking care of yourself, people are not going to be attracted to that. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. So I don't want anyone thinking, well, I don't have the body of a fitness model, I can't do this. Well, guess what? Neither do I. And doTERRA people, successful people come in all sizes and shapes. It's the people who are confident and take care of themselves that rock this business the most. So I make sure that you're taking care of yourself. One fun thing that you can do is create a joy list, things that you love to do. So you could put on your list, and it can be things that are free. It doesn't even need to be things that cost money. It could be taking a bath. Like I love to take a bath, get a bowl of ice cream, and put my bath salts in the bathtub. And if I'm getting wild, I love to watch Gilmore Girls while I'm taking my bath, eating ice cream. So I would recommend creating a list of things that bring you joy, and make sure that you're doing something on your joy list at least once a week. And it's okay if you have things that cost money, but make sure you're honoring your budget as well. So, but have things that are free and things that cost money, and make sure that you're visiting that joy list frequently. That is going to be huge for you. So, for me, that's exactly how I build my business. So I can give you an example of what my week looks like, because sometimes it helps to hear what someone else is doing. And you know what? I'm going to turn off or close my Facebook, because the notifications are making me insane, and they're probably making you insane too. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second. I'm going to see if I can. Hang on. I know. It's gone. I know. This is so sad. He's like, my yogurt is gone. It's so sad. Get this. Facebook closed. Hallelujah. It's going to be so much more quiet. Okay, we're going to share my screen again. Not that I have really anything exciting to see at this point, but I was just going to give you an example of what I do on a weekly basis. So Monday morning, I meet with all of my frontline leaders. Now, one thing that is important is that you don't get caught up in just mentoring all of the time, because that is not where your success is going to come from. definitely, it will contribute to your success. I am so sorry, you guys, but this is how today is. I don't have a sitter. I've got a little grumpy guy. I have a little grumpy guy, but I hold you in and you'll be good. So Monday, I check in with all of my frontline leaders, and I do have a nanny that comes in and helps me quite often so that I can work without distraction, like I'm doing right now. But I work Monday mornings. I check in with all of my leaders, and I like to just, again, it's like encourage everyone to map out their week, see what they're doing. Tuesday morning is the day that I always do. If I'm going to do any sort of online training, I do that on Tuesday mornings. And I am going to, one thing I'm looking for this year is I want to find a way to be surrounded by people who are more influential and more powerful and just better than me, because those are the people that I want to find to put on my doTERRA team to be my, you're always looking for more leaders. Even once you hit Presidential Diamond, you can build a new team. So I want to join. I want to find a women's group in particular. And so that once I find that will be mapped in. And obviously something like that, I can't necessarily schedule like when they meet. So then I'll work my schedule around that. And I've done that before where it's like, well, this is going to be Wednesday morning, so I'm going to start working Wednesday mornings so that I now have Tuesday off. But I want to find a women's group or whatever that I can be finding some really powerful people to just influence or to network with, just to get to know. On Thursday mornings, I like to reach out to, I do some mentoring still. That's when I reach out to the select people that I have a limited schedule, and I reach out to the people that I know are really interested in building their business right now that don't necessarily have anybody else they're working with, and I will reach out and work with them. So that's my Thursday schedule. Now my evenings, for me, Sundays are off limit. I absolutely do not work on Sundays. I don't do any classes or anything like that on Sunday, but I am open to doing my classes whenever. And for some of you, you may have to say, I need to do classes on Tuesday nights or Thursday nights, and that's okay. So, for me, I don't mind doing classes any other nights of the week except for Sunday. And so I'm open to that because I've got my husband home. He's great with our kids, so I let him work with our kids. But in terms of the, mentoring or sending out mentoring emails or before when, updating my Facebook or creating events or things like that, I have my set times that I do those. And a lot of times I would do those things, I work Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday mornings. If I've just done a booth, I'll say, okay, Monday morning after I do my mentoring calls, I'm going to check in with everybody that I just followed or that I just met at my booth, because these leads will only work for me if I work them. If I ignore them or give them my business card, I will likely never hear from them again. So that is roughly what my schedule looks like. But I'm always prepared to share at any time. I always have samples, and I'm always prepared to do classes at any time. That's one thing I do like about this is there is an element of spontaneity in the business, which can be fun too. So really, scheduling your success is going to be huge, and really it comes down to, if there's time to make this happen, it will. I always cringe when people tell me I don't have time. That's just an excuse. If this isn't a priority to you, you won't be able to make time for it. You have time for what you want to make time for. If you think about it, you figure out exactly what to do. So, because I have 4 kids, I have 3 of those 4 kids are under 4 years old, and life's busy. But because of the lifestyle I've created for myself with doTERRA through hard work, I'm freeing up more and more time for myself, and that's huge. I'm able to take off more time. Because I am able to hire more support and help and focus my hours and my efforts on the things, my zone of genius, if that makes sense. So, let that be a motivation for you, that the more successful you are, a lot of times you're going to have even more time freed up for yourself and your family. And ultimately, that's what this is about. Is for me, my life's about my family. As I want to be able to spend more time with them. I want to be able to take them along on some of the fun things that we do. And doTERRA has allowed me to do that. And so I'm so grateful for those times I've really buckled down when it's been hard and when I wasn't seeing much money, sticking to my schedule, really sticking with this, making it happen. I apologize. Oh man, Maddox. Is really sticking with it. So thank you so much for being on with me today. Next week, we are going to have making sure that the schedule works for the speaker. It is either going to be Jessica Roberts or Allison Price, and they're going to be showing you how to use, and actually let me close this down real quick. Okay, stop sharing. I'm going to stop recording.